The audience inside the studio had barely settled into their seats when the bailiff's voice rang out, echoing with familiar authority. "Order in the court. The Honorable Judge Judy presiding." The doors opened, and Judge Judy Sheindlin appeared with her characteristic brisk stride, confident, sharp-eyed, and radiating the no-nonsense energy that made even the boldest litigants straighten their backs. But today, the atmosphere felt different, almost electrically charged. The case on the docket seemed ordinary at first, a minor property dispute between two neighbors. But as soon as the litigant stepped forward, the plaintiff, a quiet and sturdy-looking older man wearing a neatly pressed blazer, and the defendant, a much younger woman with an arrogant tilt to her chin, the entire courtroom sensed an undercurrent waiting to explode. The man introduced himself as Walter Henderson, a retired Army sergeant who had served 3 tours overseas. He carried himself with quiet dignity, every movement deliberate and respectful. The woman beside him was Karen Willis, and everything about her, her smirk, her dismissive posture, the impatient tapping of her manicured nails, radiated contempt. Judge Judy glanced at the paperwork before her. "All right," she said. "We're here regarding alleged damages to the plaintiff's property, specifically his vehicle. Mr. Henderson, you are claiming Ms. Willis intentionally vandalized your truck. The amount is $2,300. Is that correct?" Walter nodded politely. "Yes, Your Honor." Karen rolled her eyes so hard the people in the front row saw the whites. "Oh, please," she muttered loudly enough for microphones to catch it. "It's just an old piece of junk." Judge Judy's eyebrows rose half an inch. A subtle warning. But Karen didn't notice, or didn't care. Walter began explaining, his voice calm but edged with hurt. His truck, he said, had been a gift from his squad when he retired, signed by all the men he had served with, some of whom had never made it back home. It wasn't just a vehicle, it was a memory, a symbol, something irreplaceable. He lived in a modest home in a quiet neighborhood, and for the most part, he said, life after service had been peaceful. Until, of course, Karen moved in next door. Karen crossed her arms and let out another scoff. "He acts like I burned down a monument," she said. "It's a rusty truck with some ugly name scribbled all over it. I did him a favor." A ripple of outrage swept across the audience. Even Bailiff Bird gave her a sideways glance. Judge Judy leaned back slowly, folding her hands. "Ms. Willis," she said, "you will get your turn to speak. For now, you will keep your comments to yourself." But Karen only smirked as if she believed she was smarter than everyone else in the room. It was clear she had walked in expecting to dominate the situation, maybe even expecting Judy to side with her. She had no idea what kind of fire she was playing with. Walter continued. He explained that the trouble began when Karen started parking illegally across his driveway, blocking him in repeatedly. He had asked her politely, several times, to stop. Instead of easing tensions, she seemed to escalate them. Then, one morning, he walked outside to find deep scratches carved brutally across the side of his truck. And written across the door, in thick black spray paint, were the words: "Loser. Baby soldier. Fraud." The courtroom fell silent. Judge Judy's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. She turned to Karen. "Did you do this?" Karen flicked her hair over her shoulder. "I mean, yeah. But it's not like it actually matters. People like him exaggerate everything. They go off to play soldier and then expect everyone to worship them when they get back." The room seemed to freeze. Bailiff Bird let out a soft "oh boy." A few people in the audience gasped. Judge Judy's expression hardened into the unmistakable look, the look that usually preceded a verbal storm. Walter stood there, dignified yet wounded, the kind of hurt that runs deeper than money or property. Not just because the truck meant something to him, but because of the words thrown at him, the disrespect toward his service. Judge Judy stared at Karen for a long moment before speaking. "Young lady," she said in a voice colder and sharper than steel, "you just walked into the biggest mistake of your life." Karen's eyebrows lifted in mock surprise. "What?" "I'm just being honest." Everyone pretends veterans are heroes, but most of them. She didn't finish because Judge Judy raised one hand. The entire courtroom went silent. "No," Judy said. "Not another word. I am going to speak now, and you are going to listen." Even Karen felt it, the pressure, the intensity of a judge who had no intention of letting cruelty slide. Judge Judy turned her gaze to Walter, and for the first time that episode, her expression softened. "Mr. Henderson," she said gently, "thank you for your service." He nodded, humbled. Then she slowly pivoted back to Karen. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. "I have dealt with rude people, disrespectful people, irresponsible people," Judy said. "But what I am seeing from you is something I encounter less often, pure, unfiltered cruelty. And if you think you're going to walk out of this courtroom without consequences, you are sorely mistaken." Karen's smirk finally faded. "And let me make something perfectly clear," Judge Judy continued. "Mocking a veteran, mocking someone who has risked their life for this country, doesn't make you bold, or clever, or superior. It makes you small." The audience nearly applauded but caught themselves just in time. Karen shifted uncomfortably, suddenly unsure of herself, suddenly aware that she might have pushed too far. But it was too late. Judge Judy tapped her pen on the bench. "Let's continue," she said. "Because I assure you, Ms. Willis, we are nowhere near the end of this." The tension in the courtroom was thick enough to feel in the air. Karen, who had walked in with the swagger of someone convinced she could outtalk or outsmart anyone, now sat stiffly, eyes darting from Judy to the cameras as if realizing, far too late, that she might have just destroyed her own case. Judge Judy flipped the complaint packet closed with a soft thump. "Ms. Willis," she said, "I'd like you to explain, slowly and without any more insults, why you vandalized your neighbor's property." Karen straightened, pushing out a breath through her nose. "Well, he was annoying me. Always complaining about my parking. Acting like he owns the whole block. And that truck was ugly anyway. Who keeps a giant heap of metal with scribbles all over it?" The scribbles, Judy repeated calmly, were the signatures of his fellow soldiers. The men and women he served with. Some of whom, unlike you, gave their lives for the freedoms you enjoy every single day. Karen's lips twisted slightly. "That's not my problem." The audience groaned in disbelief. Judge Judy leaned forward. "Actually, Ms. Willis, it is your problem. Because it shows the court exactly what kind of person you are, someone who believes the world revolves around her convenience." Karen huffed. "Look, I didn't mean to make it some big emotional thing. I was just frustrated. He was making me late for work." Walter looked over, his voice quiet but steady. "I only asked you not to block the driveway. That's all. Every time I tried to talk to you, you'd slam the door in my face." Karen flared with indignation. "I don't like being bothered. And honestly, if he cared so much about the stupid truck, he shouldn't have left it where I could get to it." The courtroom erupted with gasps and murmurs. Judge Judy's hand smacked the bench, one sharp strike, restoring order instantly. "Let me get this straight," Judy said. "You are admitting you vandalized his truck because you didn't like being told not to block his driveway?" "Well, yeah. So you destroyed something meaningful to him, something irreplaceable, because you were upset your neighbor expected you to follow basic parking laws?" Karen shrugged helplessly. "He's dramatic. He goes on and on about being in the military. I mean, so what? That doesn't make him special." Walter's jaw tightened, but he remained composed. Judge Judy's eyes narrowed. "Ms. Willis, Mr. Henderson never claimed he was special. But what he did do was serve his country. You may not understand sacrifice, responsibility, or honor, but I assure you, the rest of us do." Karen opened her mouth to respond. Judy held up a finger. "No. You spoke enough. Now I'm speaking." Karen's mouth snapped shut. Judge Judy turned back to Walter. "Continue, Mr. Henderson. What happened after you saw the graffiti?" Walter cleared his throat. "Well, I reported it to the police first. They suggested I gather evidence. I had a camera facing my driveway already because people kept parking there. And it caught Ms. Willis in the act. Judge Judy raised her brows. You have video? Yes, Your Honor. Karen's head whipped around. It was night. You can't even see me clearly. Walter replied gently, you looked right at the camera. The audience burst into quiet laughter. Judge Judy nodded at the bailiff. Bird, please bring the video. Already cued, Judge. The lights dimmed slightly as the screen flickered on. Karen visibly tensed. The footage showed her marching toward the truck, can of spray paint in hand, pausing only to inspect the vehicle as if carefully deciding where to inflict the most damage. Then she carved large scratches into the paint with something sharp, keys, perhaps, and sprayed the slurs across the door. When the video ended, the courtroom fell into a shocked hush. Karen scrambled to defend herself. That doesn't prove anything. I was just, I don't know, venting. He made me so mad. Judge Judy stared at her in disbelief. You think anger gives you the right to destroy personal property? Karen's voice cracked slightly. I mean, I didn't think it would be that big of a deal. Walter sighed softly. It wasn't just vandalism. Those names on the truck were the names of people I loved. My brothers and sisters in arms. Some I lost. Some I still miss every day. And she spray-painted right over them. Something shifted in the room, a collective ache, a shared sense of injustice. Even people who had never served a single day felt the weight of his words. Judy's voice softened. Mr. Henderson, I want you to know that your service is appreciated, not just by this court but by millions of people who understand what freedom costs. He nodded gratefully. Judge Judy then turned to Karen, her expression turning ice cold. You, Ms. Willis, insulted this man's service. You destroyed a piece of his history. And you did it with a smugness that is frankly sickening. Karen fidgeted, her bravado cracking. Are you gonna make me pay for all of it? A dry smirk tugged at Judy's lips. Oh, I'm going to do more than that. The audience buzzed in anticipation. Not only will you pay for the damages, Judy said, but you will pay the full estimated cost of restoration, not replacement. Restoration. Because that truck cannot be replaced. Karen sputtered. But that's thousands. That's your consequence, Judy said sharply. Actions have prices. You may not have learned that in your life yet, but today, you will. Karen crossed her arms tightly, jaw clenched. Judge Judy leaned in. And we are not done. Before I issue judgment, I have questions about your behavior that will determine whether more consequences are necessary. Karen swallowed hard. It was the first time she looked genuinely afraid. Karen's earlier arrogance had all but evaporated. What replaced it was a flicker of unease, her posture stiff, her lips pressed tightly together as if she finally understood just how bad things were going for her. The once confident smirk she wore upon entering the courtroom had crumbled into something brittle and hollow. But Judge Judy wasn't finished, not even close. She tapped her pen against the bench rhythmically, each click echoing like a countdown. Ms. Willis, she began, you seem to treat other people's time, space, and property as if they matter less than your convenience. Why is that? Karen blinked, startled by the bluntness. I don't know, she muttered. I'm not a bad person. Judy let out a sharp, humorless laugh. Your behavior says otherwise. Karen's breath hitched. She opened her mouth defensively. Look, I was stressed. My job is demanding. I barely get any rest. He made everything harder. Judy held up one hand, silencing her instantly. No. Stop right there. Stress does not give you the right to behave like a bully. A murmur of agreement rippled through the audience. Karen shifted, eyes darting toward Walter as if seeking sympathy, but Walter's expression remained unchanged, calm, steady, resolute. The quiet dignity he carried seemed to highlight her immaturity even more. Judge Judy continued. I want to understand something, Ms. Willis. Did it occur to you even once, just once, that Mr. Henderson didn't choose an easy life? That he didn't get to sleep comfortably every night, or be stress-free, or avoid danger? Did you consider that maybe he earned the right to enjoy some peace in the neighborhood he protected? Karen swallowed hard. I didn't think about that. Judy raised her eyebrows. Clearly. Walter hesitated before speaking, voice gentle but filled with an unshakable truth. I didn't expect special treatment, Your Honor. I never asked for it. I just wanted to be treated with basic respect. Judge Judy nodded. And you didn't get it. Karen looked down at her shoes. For the first time, she seemed genuinely remorseful, or at least overwhelmed. But Judy wasn't easing up. Ms. Willis, your actions weren't accidental. They were deliberate. You vandalized something deeply personal, and you did so with a complete lack of empathy. That kind of disregard isn't just irresponsible, it's dangerous. Karen let out a shaky breath. I was wrong. I get that now. Judge Judy leaned forward, steadying her. Do you? Karen hesitated. Then, in a small voice. Yes. But do you understand why? Judy pressed. Karen's gaze flickered up. Because what I did was cruel. And disrespectful. And it hurt someone who didn't deserve it. Walter watched her, expression unreadable. Judge Judy exhaled slowly. That is a start. Whether it's sincere or simply fear-driven remains to be seen. The audience hummed with tension. Judy then shifted her attention to Walter. Mr. Henderson, did you ever engage her aggressively? Threaten her? Speak to her disrespectfully? No, Your Honor, Walter replied. I tried to be patient. I asked her politely not to block the driveway. I even offered to help guide her car if she needed more space. She slammed the door in my face every time. Karen winced, embarrassment burning visibly across her cheeks. Judge Judy turned to her. Ms. Willis, did that happen? Karen nodded reluctantly. Yeah. I didn't want to hear him lecture me. Lecture you? Judy repeated. That's what you call a neighbor asking not to be trapped in his own home? Karen didn't answer. Judy snapped her fingers sharply. Answer the question. Karen jumped slightly. No, I guess not. You guess? Judy's voice rose an octave. There is no guessing in my courtroom. It either was a lecture or it wasn't. Karen's shoulders sagged. It wasn't. Judge Judy sat back. Good. Now let's talk consequences. Karen visibly tensed again. As I said earlier, you will pay the full cost to restore the truck. I will also be adding punitive damages. Karen's head shot up. Punitive? But why? Because there must be a deterrent, Judy explained. Something that ensures you think twice before behaving this way again, not just toward Mr. Henderson, but toward anyone you encounter in life. Karen's eyes watered. I can't afford that. Judy leaned in sharply. That is not my problem. You should have thought about affordability before picking up that spray paint can. The audience burst into applause before Bird hushed them. Judge Judy continued unwaveringly. Additionally, I'm ordering you to write a formal apology, handwritten, not something typed out and emotionless. Mr. Henderson deserves at least that much. And so do the memories of the people whose names you defaced. Karen nodded quickly, recognizing she had no room to argue. Yes, Your Honor. Judy watched her for a long, silent moment. Then something unexpected happened. Walter stepped forward slightly. Judge Judy, he said quietly, I appreciate the court's decision. And I appreciate the lesson she's learning today. If I may say something? Judy nodded. Go ahead. Walter turned toward Karen, his voice steady, compassionate even. I don't hate you. And I don't want to ruin your life. I just want you to understand why what you did hurt so much. Those names, those were my family. People I fought beside. People I lost. That truck is all I have left of many of them. Karen's breath hitched. She wiped at her eyes. Walter continued, his tone gentle but firm. I don't expect you to suddenly understand military life. But I do hope you understand respect. Karen looked at him, completely disarmed. I'm sorry, she whispered. I really am. Walter nodded. Thank you. Judge Judy watched the exchange, her sharp eyes softening just a fraction. Mr. Henderson, she said, you are a better person than most. He offered a humble smile. I just want peace, Your Honor. Judy tapped her pen one last time. And you're going to get it. She turned to Karen. This court is about justice, and sometimes justice includes growth. Whether you grow from this is up to you. But make no mistake, the financial penalties stand. Karen nodded quickly. I understand. Judy leaned back. Good. We're almost finished here. But the audience sensed something more was coming, something big. Judge Judy wasn't quite done making history. The courtroom was silent, so silent that even the soft pull of air through the vents felt loud. Judge Judy sat perfectly still, her fingers interlaced, her sharp gaze locked on Karen. The atmosphere carried the weight of something significant, something that everyone knew would echo far beyond this single case. Karen swallowed hard. Her earlier bravado had long since crumbled, replaced by a raw mixture of fear, regret, and humiliation. Walter stood beside her, calm as ever, the resolute posture of a man who had endured far worse in life than a courtroom confrontation. Judge Judy inhaled slowly, ready to deliver the final blow of the ruling. Ms. Willis, she began, this court exists for one purpose, to sort out disputes and to teach accountability. Sometimes those lessons are small. Today, the lesson is not. Karen stiffened. Your actions were malicious, Judy continued. Deliberate. Unprovoked. And deeply disrespectful. You didn't simply damage a piece of property, you desecrated a memory. A tribute. Something sacred to someone who has sacrificed far more than you can comprehend. Karen's lips trembled. She nodded, barely managing, I know. I understand. Judge Judy raised one eyebrow. Good. Because what I'm about to order is not merely financial compensation, it is a message. The audience leaned forward, sensing the turning point. First, Judy said, you are to reimburse Mr. Henderson the full $2,300 for the physical damages to the truck. Karen nodded, eyes brimming. Second, Judy continued, after reviewing the restoration estimates, I am adding $4,000 for professional restoration to the vehicle. Every signature, every mark, every tribute on that truck will be returned to its original form. If that number ends up being lower, any remaining amount goes directly to Mr. Henderson as emotional damages. Karen blinked in shock. She wasn't expecting the amount to be so high. Third, Judy said firmly, punitive damages in the amount of $1,500. Karen gasped. But, Your Honor, I don't have. Judy silenced her with a raised hand. You should have thought of that before you acted like a vandal with an ego problem. A chuckle rippled through the audience. Fourth, Judy added, leaning forward, you will handwrite a formal apology, 150 words or more, no shortcuts, and deliver it to Mr. Henderson within 30 days. Karen nodded quickly. Yes, Your Honor. And last, Judge Judy said, you are required to attend a one-day community respect and responsibility program offered through the court's partnership services. Karen blinked. The program? Yes, Judy replied. You will spend a day learning about empathy, accountability, and the consequences of reckless behavior. It is time you face the truth, not everything in life revolves around you. Karen lowered her gaze, humbled. I understand. Walter shifted, almost embarrassed by the extensive penalties. Your Honor, he said gently, I appreciate everything. I don't want to cause her more hardship than necessary. Judy raised a hand. You are a kind man, Mr. Henderson. But this is not about harshness. It is about justice and prevention. Walter nodded respectfully. Karen looked at him, her voice shaking. I really am sorry. This taught me something I should have known already. Walter offered her a small, warm nod. I believe you. Judge Judy sat back, her expression softening at the exchange. Good. Maybe this courtroom isn't just a place of conflict today, but of growth. Then she straightened again, businesslike and firm. But let me be perfectly clear, she said, her tone sharp, this ruling is final and enforceable immediately. Karen let out a shaky sigh, nodding. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $7,800, Judy concluded. Plus compliance with the apology and educational program. Don't fail to complete them. That's all. Bird announced the verdict with a booming voice. The audience burst into applause. This time, Judy didn't stop them. The cameras zoomed in on Karen's face. She looked devastated, yes, but also thoughtful, reflective, even changed. For once, she wasn't hiding behind a shield of smugness. Walter placed a gentle hand on his chest, inhaling as if finally able to breathe easier. Judge Judy stood up from the bench with her usual brisk authority, but something about her posture felt different this time, almost proud. As she walked off, the studio murmured with excitement. The case was already being whispered about as one of her most powerful rulings. But then something unexpected happened. Walter approached Karen before leaving the courtroom. This caught the attention of the audience, the crew, even Bird. Karen looked startled, unsure of what to expect. Walter spoke softly, kindly. I know this was hard, he said. But sometimes the hardest days help us grow the most. I hope this turns into something good for you. Karen blinked, her eyes wet. I don't think I deserved your kindness. Not after what I did. Walter shook his head. We all have bad moments. What matters is what we do after. Karen nodded slowly, humbled beyond words. Thank you, really. Walter smiled gently and walked away, leaving Karen standing there, small, shaken, yet somehow lighter. As the audience filed out, whispers of admiration followed Walter everywhere he went. And as for Karen, though many glared at her on the way out, a few people saw the shift in her and gave her sympathetic looks. She walked out of the courtroom clutching her paperwork, aware that her life had changed in ways she never expected. The video of the episode, uploaded later by the network, went viral within hours. Not because of the vandalism. Not because of the punishment. Not even because of Karen's dramatic downfall. It went viral because of what Judge Judy said about respect and sacrifice, because of how she stood up for every serviceman and servicewoman who had ever been belittled or dismissed. It went viral because a veteran handled cruelty with dignity. It went viral because accountability, compassion, and justice all unfolded in one unforgettable moment. Comment sections overflowed with praise for Walter's grace and Judy's unmatched authority. Karen became a symbol, not of villainy, but of how someone can change when finally held accountable. And Judge Judy's ruling? It made history. Not as the harshest verdict. Not as the loudest scolding. But as one of the most emotionally resonant moments in her long career, one where justice wasn't just served. It was felt.